Hi, I'm Dr. Tam Cummings, and I'm a gerontologist specializing in dementia. You are hearing section 6 of our Dementia Caregiver Education Series. This session is on caregiver stress, guilt, and grief, and it is brought to you by the East Texas Alzheimer's Alliance. As you watch the videos, please make sure you watch them in their order because it will make more sense to you as each session builds on the previous sets of sessions. Remember when we started, we wanted to make sure that you begin to use and understand things to help bring your stress level down. Don't forget Greenstone's awesome icebreaker. When you are feeling as though your world is exploding, that your brain doesn't function, that you can't even think about what you're supposed to do for the next minute, get a piece of ice, put it in your hand, and close your fist tightly. Shut your eyes and breathe. Within 10 breaths, your brain will shut down all of its extra activity and you will come back to a place of being calm. Put this on your refrigerator. Remember to do this and do this every time you begin to feel yourself overwhelmed. And yes, you can do it multiple times a day if you need to. Now, remember that compassion means to suffer together, and it comes from our evolution of having large families or villages where we all had to pull together for someone. And compassion is not the same as empathy. Empathy means that I think I can feel what this person is feeling. Compassion means that empathy also includes the desire to help. And you should feel compassion as a human because it's a normal thing to feel this when you see another human in distress. Now, having compassion means that you can also have compassion fatigue, and it is finally recognized that dementia family caregivers also develop compassion fatigue. Compassion fatigue is something we begin to talk about several decades ago when an oncology nurse realized that other oncology nurses over time seemed to stop doing the care that they were trained to do. And they realized that this was the result of developing to a point where you actually develop an illness called secondary traumatic stress disorder, and its code name is compassion fatigue. And it means you know what to do for your loved one, you can't do it anymore. And that can be everything from I'm leaving him in bed every day until noon because I just can't deal with getting him up. He should be in a community where they're getting him up every day at the right time to try to keep his circadian rhythms on the right cycle. Compassion fatigue means that you need to go in there and see about your loved one, but you just can't anymore. But it can also mean things like you don't realize your loved one's doing something that's dangerous or something that is, to me, is clear that this is not appropriate. And you're so beat down by the care you've done for over a decade that you don't see it anymore. A lady called me recently, and over the course of several months, her husband had bought about 10 different very expensive vehicles. And with each vehicle, he would keep it for a week or two. And then he would say, well, I don't like the buttons, or I don't like the this, or I don't like the that. And she allowed him to keep doing this. And he would take the car back and turn it in. And then he would go buy another car because he'd always bought his cars. He had spent close to $500,000 on cars when she called and finally realized that because of compassion fatigue, she didn't realize this is not her husband. This is a man with dementia and a checkbook. And over the course of 6 months, he went through $500,000 buying cars. So compassion fatigue doesn't necessarily mean I'm leaving the person in bed and I'm not getting them up because I'm too exhausted to do their care. It can also mean that I'm just so emotionally and physically exhausted that I can't see what's right in front of me. It's not burnout. Burnout means I'm tired and I'm exhausted, but I just need to go maybe have a margarita, maybe go off for a weekend. I can get my feet back under me and I can do all right. That's not the same as compassion fatigue. Compassion fatigue means secondary traumatic stress disorder, and it's secondary traumatic stress disorder because you're not the person with dementia, but by the nature of your relationship with the person, you are constantly surrounded by somebody with dementia, and it begins to take a toll on you. Now, caregiver stress is real. In 2005, the caregiver death rate, meaning that the dementia caregiver dies before the person with dementia, was 1 in 10. By 2018, that had become 2 in 10. And now with all these months of COVID, our concern is that the number may be as high as 3 in 10. There's 2 reasons you've got to move your loved one to care. One is your loved one needs the medical care provided by a nursing home or a memory care community. And number 2 is this disease can kill you too, just as the result of stress and not of brain damage. You're not in this alone. Call the East Texas Alzheimer's Alliance. They can help you. Get into a support group. There are online support groups. This is a support group. Go back and watch the education again. The more you understand this, the more you can forgive yourself, the more you can forgive your loved one. They're doing the best they can at the time with what brain is working, and you're doing the best you can at time with what you know and understand. And now you know and understand better. You're not alone. Reach out to someone and let someone help you. Sometimes your kids don't help you because you look like you got it all together. They're your kids. Give them jobs to do. It will make them feel better knowing they're doing something. Compassion fatigue means you dread what you're doing. You're anxious, you're angry, you're irritable. You don't have empathy anymore. You're not sympathetic. You don't feel connected, and you dread going to bed, and you dread waking up in the morning. You have denial about it. That's one of the big things, is that you just keep saying, give me more, give me more, give me more. And the reality is you're at the end of your rope. There's a reason why these death numbers for caregivers are so high. And it's astonishing to me that we're just now beginning to admit that family caregivers get compassion fatigue too. So compassion fatigue's medical term is secondary traumatic stress disorder. And that's what you want to talk to your physician about. And your physician's probably going to prescribe medication for you, and you are most likely going to need therapy in order to get your brain back in balance. It's not burnout. It's not you being a wimp. It's not you being a bad person. It is mental and physical exhaustion to the point that you don't know yourself anymore, to the point that it impairs your judgment. And it can impair judgment to the point that you allow your loved one to have a computer and continue to have access to banking and financial things until you turn around and realize money is gone. It impacts you as a person. It impacts your health. It increases your risk of death. And it's treatable. You just got to go talk to your doctor about it. It doesn't mean you're a bad caregiver. It doesn't mean you're a bad spouse or a bad son or daughter. It means you're exhausted. I know when I meet you, you've probably been doing care for at least 10 years, and you didn't have anything to tell you what you were supposed to do and what all of this stuff meant. You may feel stuck. You may feel like you have it. And that is a normal thing to feel. And the reality is you probably don't have it. You're just so stressed and depressed. And remember, depression's second name is pseudo-dementia, because people with untreated depression look like, feel like, and act like they have cognitive issues and they have dementia. Things that are not making it any better, COVID. I mean, people now somebody can walk up and kill you just by breathing on you, and you can't see it on them. They can't see it on themselves. You may feel stressed because the family has questions, the family doesn't listen, the family's arguing with you, the fear of the disease, the fear of money, the fear of full-time care. You may still be working outside of the home. You may be raising children. All of the questions, everything that goes on affects what's happening to you. And on top of all of that is the guilt you feel. It is normal for family caregivers to feel guilty. Family caregivers who are spouses have a different level of guilt than family caregivers who are the adult children. And that one's not right and one's not wrong. It's just that you experience guilt and grief differently. Everybody, let's take a deep breath in. Feet on the floor, hands in your lap, eyes shut. 1 breath in, deep breath. 2, 3, 4, hold. Breathe out. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. As compassion fatigue begins to take hold, some people have some questionable coping mechanisms. Some of us, people begin to isolate themselves and blame everybody else for everything that's going on because they can't see what's right in front of them. Now, this is actually a picture of 3 of my nieces at Texas A&M. They kept telling my mother they were going to the library with Jack and Jim. My mother had no idea there was a bar called the library, and this was who Jack and Jim was. But what this slide really means is that we do things when we have compassion fatigue to try to protect us, and they actually hurt us. So we shop beyond our means. We're not shopping because we need something. We're shopping because that momentary joy of hitting, yay, it's going to come to me, is a momentary moment of joy. Eventually a bill's going to show up. Smoking means you're smoking more than you used to smoke, or you've gone back to smoking. Please stop doing that. Sipping means you've moved beyond what your normal alcohol intake would be. And sex means you're having sex with somebody you're not legally married to, or you're supposed to be having sex with. And those are common things. People also avoid the situation, and people use their sick days at work as a way of avoiding what's going on, that they simply can't handle what's going on anymore because they're overwhelmed. And then so many of you are this person. Now, you're not bad. You're the person that says to me, I can't give up care of my loved one. No one will care for them and love them the way I do. And you know what? You're exactly right. No one is going to care for your loved one the way you do. But here's what professional caregivers do. They come in trained and licensed and prepared to do care. They're only there to do care, and they work in 8-hour shifts. They haven't been on duty for the last 48 hours. Professional caregivers are not mad at your loved one for something that happened 50 years ago that none of the rest of us even know what's being talked about. None of the caregivers that are professionals are waiting for your loved one to die so they can get some money. So no, we don't do care exactly how you would do care, but we do professional care, we do medical care, we do social care, and we give care. If this is the way you look in the mirror every day, then this is hitting home. So even when you tell me, yeah, I'm still okay, yeah, you're in denial. You really, really are. So there's things you can do for yourself and you can't do. You can mentor someone else. If you've already been through this journey and there's someone else you can reach out and give some instruction to, do it. Learn about mindfulness. Pay attention to this moment right here, because this moment is the only thing that I have control over. Do meditation. Remember, we've talked about meditation. We've given you meditation tools in this series because meditation keeps your brain healthy. Doesn't work for your loved one. Their brain is dying due to a disease process. And learn to do self-compassion for yourself. We're going to give you a website to go to do the self-compassion test so that you treat yourself the same way you would treat a total stranger in your position. Things that you can't do, you can't ignore it. Secondary traumatic stress disorder will continue until it finally kills you. You got to nurture yourself, and you can't expect others to come fix this for you. The only person that can make you go to therapy is you. The only person that can take the medication is you. The only person that can go say to the doctor, I'm overwhelmed and I need help, is you. So please do that. If you are feeling completely overwhelmed, and this is usually really rooted in anger, then do the scream technique. Now, do the scream technique in the evening and at nighttime, and make sure if there's someone else around, you tell them you're fixing to go do this. But I would turn the TV on, I'd put the dogs in another room, I'd turn the shower on, and then you take a hand towel or a kitchen towel, twist it, bite it, and scream as loud as you can about how angry you are. Don't try to start crying right away. Try to hold off on the tears, but the tears are going to come. And you may even be thinking, I don't want to start crying. If I start crying, I won't ever stop. And yes, you will. But when you grieve, the brain produces grief toxins, and grief toxins are only removed from the brain when we cry. So first, try to contact the anger you feel. This isn't fair. Dementia is not a fair disease. This is not fair what's happened to your loved one. This is not right. This is not fair what's happened to you or your family. And it makes you angry, so try to get that anger out. You may even scare yourself. When you finish, have a cup of hot tea, have a cup of hot chocolate, have something soothing, because typically your throat's going to hurt. Prepare that after you scream the anger, you may begin to cry and you will stop crying, but prepare yourself that this may exhaust you, which is why I tell you to do it before bedtime. because you may be getting so much tension out of your body that your body will fall asleep afterwards. Use the meditation tools, get a coloring book for adults, use your breathing technique, 4 in, hold for 2, breathe out to the count of 6. Remember, breathing out on a longer breath than my intake breath moves me to meditative or prayer breathing, which means I go from 13 breaths a minute down to 8. Gardening is meditative. Prayer is meditative. Remember, in the very beginning, we talked about having a caregiver's journal and a gratitude journal. And every day, stop to say and write what you are grateful for. And even if it's only a couple of things, it will actually help you physically and mentally. Continue to do reading that's fun. Music, listen to your music, not someone else's music, your music that makes you happy. And listen to the music that makes you happy. I have different playlists. I have a playlist of music that when someone else was writing with me and actually heard it playing, they asked me to change it because it was depressing them. And it's the music I play to prepare myself when I'm dealing with a family that's very close to the end of life with their loved one. A comedy, YouTube, old TV shows, movies. Don't watch news. Don't watch things that are deadly and terrible and awful, because that's all around us and we can't control it, so it overwhelms us. And we're already in an overwhelmed position of a caregiver. Watch funny stuff. Laughter will help your brain. Laughter will help your exhaustion. Laughter will get you through the next day. Then get some self-compassion. Self-compassion means treating yourself the same way you would treat a total stranger, being as kind to yourself as you are to others. So right now, as you're listening to this, I want you to make a note to yourself. I want you to write yourself a letter about all of the good care that you have done. I just want you to write yourself a letter about the care that you have done and put it up for yourself. Now, some people don't like self-compassion. It can make them feel needy or weak or soft, and this can be males or females. Some people think if they give up and feel compassionate for themselves, that they may feel like they're weak, or it goes against their core beliefs. It may make them feel like they're flawed, especially here in Texas, because we're Texans. We're better than everybody else. The main reason, though, is that for most of us, we're much more familiar with a voice that is self-criticizing, or a parent that criticized, or a spouse that criticized us, but we're more familiar with that. So it's hard for us to take that step over and be kind to ourselves for what we're doing. Other people just have trouble with compassion. And I don't know if you know, this guy lives near me, but he scares me every time I see him. They're actually suspicious of people that are compassionate. That much emotion makes them very, very uncomfortable, and it just feels foreign to them. But remember, this is a person that's already a little bit unnerved by having emotions. So they're suspicious of you. What's your real reason for being nice to them? You must want something of theirs or something from them, and they don't recognize it's compassion. So Kristen Neff is a professor at the University of Texas in Austin, and she is a guru of self-compassion. She owns the website self-compassion.org. And I want you to go to that website. She has a quick test on there to take and see if you are being compassionate to yourself or not. And you'll be surprised that you're being good to everybody in the world except you. And it turns out we're all counting on you. So when you hit those moments, Dr. Neff says this is a moment of suffering, and suffering is part of life. So in this moment, be kind to yourself and give yourself the compassion that you deserve and you need. And that seems so easy, but it can be really, really hard. So on the mirror in your bathroom, take some lipstick and write that I am worthy, and be gentle with yourself. You're doing an incredible job. Now, these are things that can quickly help you to feel better. So holding your hands over your heart when you begin to feel yourself stressed. If your loved one's in a community, when you get there in the parking lot, before you ever go in, breathe 4 deep breaths and put your hand over your heart. If you still feel a little anxious, put your hand over your stomach. You can try laying down on the ground, laying down on the bed, laying down on the floor. Anything that changes your view, your normal view of how you see the world by looking up, will help to calm you down. Rub your forearms. Our elderly people get the least amount of touch of our population, and people with dementia are the least touched of all. If your loved one's in a community because of COVID, you may not have seen them in a while. You may need touch. They will need touch. Normally in communities, touch is part of the care, but we've had to be so careful with people. Hug yourself. A simple one to do is to put your face in your hands and hold your face the way you would hold a child's who is having a hard moment. And dance like nobody's watching, because that will help you as well. This is actually some monsters that I caught practicing self-compassion. See how they've all put their hands on their hearts? So anybody can do this. Remember to care for yourself, to care for you. Respect the skills you have. You have learned a lot of things about taking care of someone, but respect your stress because it will kill you. And without you, who will be there to oversee care? And that's a critical thing, because if you die first, who will be the next one to step up? These are things that you can go online. And I call these tests. I probably shouldn't call them tests. These aren't really testing you. These are simply giving you measurements of your stress level. On Zaretz, if your score is above 40, you need to be seeing your doctor. On your compassion fatigue test, you're going to actually do 3 different scoring levels on there to determine if you have burnout, compassion fatigue, or you've actually doing okay. The Caregiver Grief Inventory measures you on your grief and your stress. And all of these tests will help your physician do better care for you. These tests will help us help you survive this disease process. Let's take 2 deep breaths. Feet on the floor, hands in your lap, eyes shut. Deep breath in, 2, 3, 4, hold, hold, breathe out, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Deep breath in, 2, 3, 4, hold, hold, breathe out, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. This completes your dementia education series. If you didn't get handouts, please contact the East Texas Alzheimer's Alliance, and they will make sure that they connect you to the handouts that we talk about and use in this series. If you have other questions on dementia and you need assistance, please feel free to give me a call. You can reach me at 254-216-3668. If I don't answer you in the first day, it simply means I'm traveling. Please call me again. You are not bothering me. I am happy to help you. If you need local help, please contact the East Texas Alzheimer's Alliance. Their number is 903-230-8001. People there will be happy to help you. Good luck on this journey. Take care of yourself.